Today I have a question for you, and it is, what are you fighting for? But before we get into that, I want to take you back to where I was when I was 12 years old. When I was 12, this is kind of how I grew up with my family. I had great parents, awesome sisters, and a great home to grow up in. We had a pool in our backyard, which my parents just put in, and we would go on family vacations. That year we went to Colorado for the mountains, so it was just, I had everything I could ever want. I was in 5th grade, living the life, so happy, and everything I could ever need. I didn't know any different. And now let's take a look at Shelly. Shelly has a very different story than what I have. When she was 12, she grew up in a broken home and she ran away. After she ran away, a man named Ted picked her up, threw her in a car, and took her to a warehouse. In this warehouse were dozens of other girls, and they started explaining to her, at 12 years old, her future, what her future was going to be as of then. And they called it an escort service, but we know it more as human trafficking. She was deprived of food and water, beaten and tortured and raped multiple times, just even that night as soon as she arrived. And I'm not here to make you feel sorry for her. I'm just here to bring up an injustice and something that we do need to fight for, and that is human trafficking. Right now, there are 27 million, around that number, in bondage across the globe. And that's a huge number for something that we don't hear about as often. Human trafficking can be defined as an illegal trade of human beings. And it's usually for the purpose of commercial use. They're sold with money, and they're forced into whatever they're told to do. Some facts about human trafficking is that for every 30 seconds, so I've been talking for around a minute, 2 people have been forced into this type of bondage. And then there are more slaves today, even in the entire world, than there were at any other point in history, which is something that's really eye-opening to me. And then the average age of the victims are 12 years old, just like Shelly. And 1 to 2% of victims are ever rescued, which is extremely low, and that's per year. And then only 1 in 100,000 traffickers are ever convicted in an entire year. So now, what can we do about it? How can we help this cause? There's something that I like to call the 4 Ps. It's prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnership. For prevention, we can prevent this trafficking through awareness and education. That would look like what I'm doing right now, or presentations that you put on at schools or universities, or really just equipping people with ways to avoid being put in that situation, or allowing them to know what's really going on. And then we have protection, and the way we can provide protection is there's a ton of shelters and transition homes for those that have been rescued from trafficking, such as Shelly. Shelly's actually in a home right now. Pretty sure she's in Greece, and she's just in a transition home where she's learning how to move on and heal, and they're taught skills for the future, so she can go on. They help her continue her education, help her put her in a place where she can move on from where she was. And then prosecution, which is bringing awareness really to everyone around you in order to prosecute these traffickers. And actually, something that I found really interesting is that the Super Bowl is known as the largest human trafficking event in the United States, just because it's so big. And that's something that I found kind of crazy, because we celebrate the Super Bowl, but something else is actually going on behind that. And then partnership, which is just partnering with the community, partnering with organizations such as the A21 campaign, which is a campaign that I help partner with, and it's to meet the needs for those that are rescued or need to be rescued. They're the ones that set up the shelters and bring in people to help these children basically move on with their life and become healed and restored. So the question that I asked is, what are you fighting for? And my thing is that we need to be a voice, and we need to speak up for those that can't speak up for themselves. Luckily, Shelly was rescued, but that's usually not the case. For only 1 to 2% of people that are trafficked are rescued per year, and that's definitely not enough. So we need to speak up, and we need to raise awareness, and I hope you join me in this fight to abolish human trafficking in the 21st century.